So this is an overview of Module 4, which is cash flow analysis. So with cash flow analysis, the number one priority for a cooperative should be keeping a very close eye on your cash flow. So sometimes people focus on, your profitability. That's obviously important too, but cash is king. And this is a term that's commonly used in business, but sometimes people really lose sight of the importance of cash in your business. You can have a lot of revenues, but if you're in a cash crunch, if you can't make your payments, then it's not going to do you any good. So cash is extremely important in monitoring the financial health of your cooperative. So in this module, we look at the importance of analyzing the cash flow. We look at your statement of cash flows, which is one of your statements in your standard set of financial statements. We're going to be looking at the sources of cash and the uses of cash. And then there are some limitations in the current approach in reporting on cash. So, and as a side note, this is something, of course, you're going to want to be mindful of for your project in terms of looking at the cash situation for your cooperative. So, in addition to the standard ways that you'll see in textbooks and the way accounting is taught in terms of analyzing cash flow, we also have a unique concept. It's called OCFADE, and that's an acronym, and you will see all that detailed in your supplementary notes. So this is really another way to look at the cash flow of a cooperative, and it was actually developed by the fellow who actually used to teach this course before I started it, Alan Robb, and he's from New Zealand, and he's been teaching for many years, and he's a cooperative consultant, etc. He's retired now, or semi-retired, I should say. And he developed this as a way to help non-accountants understand the cash situation of their cooperative, because there's been a number of cooperatives that have, had to cease operations because they just basically ran out of cash. So it's very helpful, especially when you're trying to get board members, many of whom are not accountants, to understand the cash situation. And this is very, very effective tool. Not to say it should take the place of your standard cash flow statements that you do in your required financial statements, but just as an added tool to help the non-accountants in the organization, both in the organization and on the board, understand it. And we have one of our graduates, one of our MMCCU graduates, Wendy Holm. She actually employed this model for part of her course requirements for her capstone paper, actually, and she worked with Alan Robb on this, and she used it to assess the financial health of a cooperative in Canada. So we have a video of Wendy explaining this, and also her paper on this was published in our Journal of Cooperative Accounting and Reporting, which is, I'm the editor of that journal, so if I see some really neat work that you guys are doing, I'll certainly invite you to submit a paper to me for publication, or if you're doing a paper in another course you think might fit with this journal, certainly keep me in mind, and send me your paper and I'll have a look at it. So this paper is there in your reading material as well, but I thought it would be really helpful to supplement that with Wendy giving her overview on that model that she's used. And so Wendy, as I said, she's a graduate of the program. She teaches part-time at University of British Columbia, and she is actually very involved with taking groups to visit cooperatives in Cuba as well. So it's kind of a side note. So if you go to Wendy's website, you'll see more information about what she's up to. It's some very, very interesting work for sure. So that concludes the brief overview on the cash flow analysis for Module 4.